Okay. What do Anthony Bourdain, Frida Kahlo, and Tim Ferriss all have in common? At first glance, probably nothing. One was a famous celebrity chef and storyteller, one was a surrealist painter from Mexico, and one is a best-selling author and entrepreneur famous for productivity hacks. But for me, these three people have become powerful sources of inspiration in my life. Each of them have shaped the way I think, live, and create. Today I want to share with you why these three individuals inspire me deeply through their work, their struggles, and their philosophies. I've learned valuable lessons about curiosity, pain, and creativity in designing a life that feels intentional. Let's start with Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain inspires me because he was relentlessly curious and unafraid to challenge the way we think about culture. He didn't just eat food, he explored entire worlds through it. Watching Parts Unknown, you didn't just learn about new cuisines, you learned about people, conflict, and about resilience. In his travels, Bourdain visited places like Lebanon, Palestine, and the Congo, areas often associated with political turmoil or poverty. And instead of focusing on tragedy, he showed their humanity. One of his most impactful quotes is, "Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts, it even breaks your heart, but that's okay. The journey changes you." That quote changed how I think about growth. It reminded me that the most important lessons in life often come from discomfort, not from playing it safe. Beyond his travels, Bourdain was open about his own struggles. He talked about addiction, depression, and feelings of loneliness, even at the height of his success. That honesty has made him feel real to me. He wasn't trying to be perfect, he was just trying to be honest. He inspired me to stop chasing perfection and instead focus on living with depth and presence. Bourdain made me realize that curiosity is one of the most powerful tools we have. Whether we're exploring a new place, trying new food, or having a conversation, staying curious helps us connect, not just with others, but with ourselves. Next, I want to talk about Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo inspires me because of the way she turned pain into art. When she was 18, she was in a horrific bus accident that left her with a broken spine and chronic pain for the rest of her life. But instead of letting that pain destroy her, she used it as fuel for her creativity. Her painting, The Broken Column, shows her body split open and nails piercing through her skin. It's graphic, emotional, and brutally honest. She didn't hide her suffering, and instead she painted it. Frida once said, "I paint myself because I am so often alone and because I am the subject I know best." That quote has always stuck with me. It reminds me that we don't need to wait for others to validate our experiences. We can express them ourselves. Our stories matter even if they're difficult or messy. Kahlo inspires me because she embraced her identity unapologetically. She wore traditional Mexican clothing, celebrated her indigenous heritage, and rejected Western beauty standards. She painted herself with her unibrow and mustache intact, challenging the idea of what femininity should look like. She was also openly bisexual and defied gender norms, something incredibly brave for the early 20th century. To me, Frida represents radical self-acceptance. She didn't let the world define her, she defined it herself. That kind of authenticity is rare and powerful. It makes me want to be more honest in my own life and to show up fully even when it's uncomfortable. Lastly, I want to talk about Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss inspires me because he encourages people to question the status and design a life that works for them. His book, The 4-Hour Workweek, completely changed how I think about success. Instead of glorifying hustle culture, Ferriss asks a simple and powerful question. What if we could live more and work less? He believes that freedom, not money, is the ultimate goal, and that changed my perspective entirely. Ferriss also pushes people to ask themselves, what would you do if you couldn't fail? That question really made me think about things that I want to do but haven't pursued out of fear. It challenged me to start taking small steps toward goals that feel intimidating, like starting a creative project or learning something totally new. What I love learning about Ferriss is his obsession with learning. In Tools of Titans, he interviews world-class performers across different fields to understand how they think, train, and live. He treats life like a giant experiment, always testing and tweaking. That inspired me to be more experimental in my own habits. I started tracking how I can spend my time, trying new routines, and asking myself, not just am I productive, but am I fulfilled? Ferriss reminds me that we don't have to follow a conventional path. We can design a life that reflects our values, our interests, and our personal definitions of success. So what ties this all together? Anthony Bourdain taught me to explore the world with open eyes and an open heart. Frida Kahlo taught me to embrace my vulnerability and turn pain into beauty. And Ferriss taught me to be intentional about how I live, work, and grow. Together, they've inspired me to live more curiously, more authentically, and more fearlessly. If there's one thing I've learned from this, or if there's one thing I've learned from their lives, it's this. You don't need to be perfect to inspire others. You just need to be real. And if you're willing to be real with yourself and others, then maybe you can inspire someone else to do the same. Thank you.